Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you for joining me. Happy holidays, everybody. This commentary is pertaining to Alissa Mccommon, Derek Chauvin, and two updates, Michael Orr and Asa Ellerup. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for joining me. ABC 7 New York is the source pertaining to Asa Ellerup.
Taken from the estranged wife of the alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer matched her DNA material found on the remains of some of the victims. Investigators took a cheek swab from Asa Ellerup the night her husband Rex Heuermann was arrested in July. Now, they say that her hair was found on the burlap in which victims were found wrapped in. Prosecutors have cleared her of any wrongdoing and said that she was out of town at the time of the murders.
ABC 7 is the source. So Rex Heuermann is the suspect in 3 female murders, and they're currently working on another case of a 4th victim, also a female, where they do believe Mr. Heuermann is possibly the culprit in that murder as well. And know that this is an ongoing investigation into the 4th murder. Others have been found on this parkway that is also in the general area. And so far, there has not been a suspect in those murders. And is he the suspect in those? I do not know. We will wait to see. But what I find interesting is that you have 3 deceased people wrapped in burlap. And whether they were wrapped in burlap, a tarp, a garbage bag, a rug. The crazy part of that information is that Asa Ellerup's hair is on 3 different victims. And you can argue back and forth. She was there, she was involved, she helped put him in the tarp, the burlap. It's just strange. 1 victim, perhaps, but 3 victims, 3 to 4 victims, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And to say that you were out of town, naturally people are going to want a receipt. So we will see when he goes to trial what receipt the state will have against her to say she was nowhere around. We have her in Saskatchewan, Ireland, the Bahamas, wherever, at the time of the murders. But see, the gist of the story is this, as I read a comment below this video. What does that mean? She was out of town. Once again, you have to have proof she was out of town, and you have to have proof of when the women were murdered. So if you don't have a timeline of when the women being murdered and discarded, it doesn't matter that she says, I was out of town at this time and that time. That's what her attorneys are saying. His attorneys are saying she was out of town. I find it very strange, not really strange, but just ironic that a person would say she was out of town, as if you're trying to already remove her from the circumstances. If you do not know when they were murdered, you can't say where she was, because they were found, one after the other, in a search for a whole different person, Miss Gilbert. Let's make that clear. And you have to admit that's even more strange, also ironic, that while a search is out for a Shannon Gilbert, these bodies were discovered. So what are the odds of a woman having an accident in a marsh, drowned allegedly? This is what authorities say. They believe he's not connected, Mr. Heuermann, to her death. That you would find some other dead people where this woman allegedly drowned. What are the odds of that? She was disoriented. She was what? High on drugs, inebriated, intoxicated, and fell into a marsh, drowned. And in the search for her, you find some other dead people. I want you to think about that for just a second. That's ironic and very peculiar. So as this woman's hair being on burlap of 3 victims. Hello, Dammers. Thank you for joining me. That's strange. You have to admit that's very strange. 3 different women, 3 different times. Because see, now you've got to prove when he killed the women. Same day, same night, next day, 2 days later, 5 days apart, 2 weeks apart. Because a medical examiner will have to tell the general public a time of death, a timeline of death, the state of the body in the burlap. Recognizable, not recognizable. Bones only, flesh still attached to the bones. What? See, we don't know because no one's told us. So that's why many people are not really in tune to this information about Asa being out of town and gone, because we haven't gotten a description of the bodies, the state of the bodies, the timeline of how long they were in the burlap, in the marsh, the state of the body. But you have to admit, whether the bodies had fully deteriorated or not, another person's DNA on 3 dead people that allegedly she does not know is strange as hell. Yes, we know that fibers can be transferred. That's how a lot of people have been apprehended when being investigated in a murder. It's fibers. Hair from animals, carpet, blankets, clothing. But damn, 3 people? Very strange. Michael Oher. A lot of talk with Michael Oher. That's my other update before I discuss my main 2 topics. Still an ongoing case with the Mr. Oher and the Tuohys. ABC 24 Memphis is my next source pertaining to Michael Oher. New court filings show how much Memphis couple paid Michael Oher from the Blind Side profits. Another weird story. You're entitled to your opinion of what you believe pertaining to what they paid and did not pay. But the information is sketchy.
New court filings today, Kevin.
Yeah, that's right, Pepper. Former NFL player Michael Oher's court case against the Tuohys took another step further today. Documents the Tuohys filed with the Shelby County Court showed exactly how much they paid Oher for the Blind Side movie. Court documents reveal Sean and Leanne Tuohy paid Oher more than $138,000 between 2007 and 2023. The Tuohys earned about $432,000 from the Blind Side, and they say Oher got what he was promised, about 1/3 of the total, except for a 10% commission. Last August, Oher took the Tuohys to court, accusing them of lying to him about a conservatorship when he believed that the couple was adopting him back in 2004. As part of the filings today, the Tuohys said, quote, the Tuohys have never received any money as conservators.
Let me go back a minute. Hold on.
As part of the filings today, the Tuohys said, quote, the Tuohys have never received any money as conservators on behalf of Michael Oher, and further, never had control over any funds or dealings on behalf of Mr. Oher during the entire term of the conservatorship. In fact, the Tuohys, as part of the filings today, the Tuohys said, quote, the Tuohys to court, accusing them of lying to him about the conservatorship when he believed that the couple was adopting him back in 2004. Okay. As part of the filings today, the Tuohys said, quote, the Tuohys have never received any money as conservators on behalf of Michael Oher, and further, never had control over any funds or dealings on behalf of Mr. Oher during the entire term of the conservatorship. In fact, the Tuohys spent tens of thousands of dollars of their own money to support Mr. Oher during his high school and college years. That conservatorship was severed back in September, but financial disputes are ongoing. We'll be following them here at ABC 24. Richard, Pepper, back to you.
All right, ABC 24 is the source. Memphis News, everybody. This is what I have to say about that, because there's a lot of chitter chatter, people arguing in the comments section below videos and articles pertaining to who paid what, who knew of what, and who didn't know. So let's start with the logistics. Some will say he knew that he was being adopted. Some will say he didn't know. Some say he mentioned it in an interview years ago on some sports network that he knew about the conservatorship. Well, this is what I tell people. You don't know what somebody knew unless you were there at the time of the signing. And because a person doesn't speak of something when they find out about it, let's say he found out a few years ago that the conservatorship existed and it was not adoption papers. Just because he didn't come forward then, let's just say hypothetical, he found out a few years ago, doesn't mean he didn't know about it. Maybe something else has transpired, such as he has not been getting all of his money. He has not received all of his money. And that is why he's come forward to let everybody know, hey, these people deceived me. I thought I was being adopted. I watched an interview recently, a few months ago, where he said he didn't like the fact of these people making him feel like he was slow. So that means he's harbored these feelings for some time. Now, whether it was at 18, 17, 16, up until now, I don't know. But for a person to say that, that means that's how they felt. That's how they possibly currently feel. And that's what people need to understand about accusations of something. Just because I don't come out and say what I think you did to me, what I have proof you did to me, does not mean it does not exist, because everything is about perception. And we're going to dissect what was said during this commentary to show you these people were not too concerned, because one, why do you need a conservatorship over somebody who didn't have anything? That's common sense. And I don't know why people are arguing over this. If a person is 18 years of old, they do not work, they do not have a job, they're going into college, why would you need a conservatorship over that person who has nothing? I'll wait. The Blind Side came out in 2009, November 20th. You hear in this commentary that they paid him $138,000 plus from 2007 up until 2023. So that means the studio went to these people to get the rights to make the movie, which would have been naturally a year or two before making the movie. You're naturally going to get paid up front for the rights to the movie. Hope everybody's following me. So why would it take you 16 years to pay $138,000? I'll wait. You see, this is why I always tell people to listen to the information, because as time goes by, which this saga has been going on since September, you're getting a little bit of information each news broadcast, each article written. 16 years is a long time to pay somebody money that was already given to you up front. You want me to believe a movie that made hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars, you got paid what? It took you 16 years to get a paycheck from the studio? The Tuohys. Come on now. They paid themselves. They paid their children. He got a third of the total amount. Then you hear a 10% commission. A 10% commission for what? You're the one spinning the story. So I'm confused about the 10% commission. Is that 10% the deducted part that's the 138? Is that what the 10% is? That's what's included inside of the 138,000 plus he got? There's information I brought recently that 2 of the checks didn't clear to Mr. Orr's bank account. And that was 2021. Stay woke now. So why would he still, I'm going to say it again, why would it take you 16 years to pay somebody money that you would have originally gotten years before the movie was released? I'll wait. I would assume it's no different than being in a movie. You're the lead. You're a cast member. I'm supposed to believe you audition for the movie. You get the part of the movie or the TV show. You sign the contract. And they give you your money when? At the end of the season? They adopted him in 2004. They paid tens of thousands of dollars while he was in college. Well, that sounds like a rebuttal. I don't know why he's complaining. We paid tens and thousands of dollars while he was in college. Well, that was your choice. So that doesn't sound like a genuine family member or a person that cares about you if they're going to throw in your face, oh, well, I spent thousands of dollars on you while you were in college. Well, that was your choice. If you cared about him, why would you not spend money on him? Isn't that the purpose of adopting someone allegedly? Taking them in your house to take care of them? I think they saw dollar signs when they saw him. This slow, big old black kid. I think they saw potential. I think they saw dollar signs some type of way. How, why, I do not know. The fact that they said they never received any conservatorship money. Well, what you have to remember is he was an adult, I'm assuming, when you adopted him. Because most people who go off to college are usually at least 18 years of age. So that means you're a legal adult. You didn't receive any of his payment from the NFL. Naturally, once again, as I said, he was an adult. He would be stupid to say, oh, yeah, here, take my money. Why would a grown man need somebody to be a conservatorship and they are a legal adult? Whether they are a bit slow, a bit disabled. Somebody has to prove that you're disabled, that you cannot manage your finances. And that's what a conservatorship is, for those who do not know. It is a legal document for someone to be over your estate. So I'm going to say this again. Why would an 18-year-old boy, man, however you want to describe him, need a conservatorship paper when he didn't have anything? See, the story is telling itself for those who are actually paying attention. And I'm paying attention. He didn't have anything. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any resources. He didn't have a job. So there was no reason to have a conservatorship paper in the first place. And I won't doubt that they did deceive him. Because the fact that they said, oh, we never received anything as a conservatorship, then that proves that you did have it, that he signed it. Then somebody wants to argue, oh, well, his mother went with him for him to sign it with them. So then people will wonder about the capacity of the mother's understanding of legal paperwork. Did she know that he was signing a conservatorship, if that is true? So you don't know what's true. Because if you're not there, you don't know. And the reason why I know there's more to the story, even before I heard about this dollar amount, it taking 16 years to pay him. 2 checks didn't clear his bank account from the Tuohys in 2021. When the brother, the alleged adopted brother, gave an interview months ago, his demeanor told me everything, that there was way more to the story. He was very polite. He looked damn near ashamed during the interview. And basically he was saying he knew this day was coming. What day was coming? I knew this was going to happen. What was going to happen? The truth. He never spoke ill of Michael, never said one derogatory word in that interview. That should tell you something right there, that there was more to the story. Because as I said, when you're doing contracts with people, assuming you would get your money up front, especially when you're dealing with a studio for movies, TV shows. I'm not going to believe these people waited years and years and years to get a payment from the studio. They got their money up front. And the fact that this information tells you from 2007 to 2023, he received $138,000 plus. There's your proof in the pudding right there that something is off with the story. Why would it take you 16 years to pay somebody $138,000 when you would have gotten the money up front in the first damn place? And I also learned that he did not receive royalties from The Blind Side. Checkmate. The Tuohys and their other children received monies, have been receiving royalties from the movie, but Mr. Orr has not. So perhaps that is what this is about. He's not receiving the money as everybody else got their cut and pay. He's been getting his in installments. Then somebody had the nerve to say, oh, they set up a trust fund. Thank God. Thank God what? That once again, that's a choice. You want to set up a trust fund for somebody's child. What does that have to do with you owing Mr. Michael money? Nothing. There's two separate situations. You owe me money now. What does that have to do with my child? So let's go there. If there is a trust fund for his son allegedly by the Tuohys, how much is in it? Because one could say, well, you got money to put in a trust fund for his kid, but it takes you 16 years to pay him. And allegedly you still owe him money because money hadn't even cleared in his bank account from 2021. I think most of you can count. As I said, the movie came out November 20th, 2009. They've been paying this man from 2007, which is 2 years before the movie came out, up until 2023. And you want me to logically think that these people are on the up and up? That it would take you 16 years to pay somebody $138,000. So if it's taking you 16 years to pay him, and 2 checks never cleared the bank 2 years ago, why would I believe you would be the same honest people to give him a document saying, oh, we want to legally adopt you. We love you. We care for you. We want to help you. And all in all, it was not an adoption document. It was a conservatorship. And who would lie about that? They've already admitted that the document exists. So that's not an argument. They've admitted that the document exists. The issue is, did they tell Michael Orr it was a conservatorship document at the time of him signing? And in the end, if he was so slow as he feels that these people perceived of him, then maybe that's why they had him sign it, because they thought he was slow, that he wouldn't know the difference between adoption and a conservatorship. And I could say at 18 years old, I wouldn't have known what a conservatorship document was either. Hell, I had to Google it 2 months ago when this story broke just to get an understanding of what it actually is. It is not an adoption paper. It is basically somebody being designated over your estate because you are not in a state of mind or situation to run your affairs. Point blank. Next commentary pertaining to Mr. Orr and the Tuohys. Thank you all so much for joining me. ABC 24 Memphis is the source once again. Memphis couple says they will remove references to Michael Orr being adopted from their websites. How interesting is that? So whatever commentary they have, these so-called millionaires, they will be talking about other things. It won't be pertaining to The Blind Side and their life as raising Mr. Orr, a man who's literally a man when they met him. It's all strange to me.
2000
Hold on.
and more fallout from the legal battle between the Tuohy family and Michael Orr, whose story is depicted in the hit 2009 movie The Blind Side. Now, the lawyer for the Memphis couple telling his clients to remove any mention of Orr being their adopted son. So that means any of the couple's websites or public speaking materials. References to Orr being adopted has been a key argument in his efforts to force the Tuohys to account for money made from the film. Orr claims that Tuohys misled him into thinking they adopted him when they actually entered into a conservatorship agreement when he was 18.
All right, 18. So now you have it. A conservatorship at 18. The state of Tennessee recognizes persons at 18 as a legal adult. So once again, I'm going to say it. It's so obvious. Why would you need a conservatorship with an 18-year-old person who would be considered a legal adult? Once again, he didn't have anything. He had nothing of monetary value. My understanding, he wasn't playing pro ball at 18. So I'm confused. So what would they talk about now in public speaking engagements? I don't think I can see them talking about is this mess here. How we feel betrayed. We gave up tens and thousands of dollars while he was in college. Well, that's a choice. Once again, you decide to take somebody in under your wing and help them, mentor them, and you want to give up monies and gifts and provide for different things for their schooling or housing. That's a choice. And you're only bringing that up, Mr. and Mrs. Tui, it's because the cat is out of the bag about the conservatorship documents and that the man believed that he was adopted. And I can't see this man making that up, because we know that it's not made up, because you have acknowledged that the documents did exist. So that's not a lie. Where people are going to be confused is, did he know that's what he signed at 18? That's the issue. You entitled to believe it or not. I will put up a poll. Do you all believe Mr. Michael knew what the documents were, and that he's only making a stir years later for some weird reason? And then what would that reason be? Frankly, it doesn't even matter to some degree if it was conservatorship papers, due to the fact they owe him money. And I got a sneaky suspicion they don't owe their children any money from The Blind Side. I knew there was more to the story when I first heard it. Different people were giving their opinions. Like I said, below the videos, arguing back and forth about what the Tuohys didn't do. He knew all along that he wasn't adopted, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, he may have said something about it years ago, that he knew about the conservatorship paperwork. But you don't know what's transpired since then. So you have to prove who knew what when. You have to prove that you knew what was going on behind closed doors with these people. Just like this information from ABC 24. I never knew that it took this many years for them to pay him. I just assumed that when they got their cut, they paid the kids. They paid him. So that's what I initially thought when the story ran months ago, is that they never paid him. And now that you find out that this has been going on since 2007, that should tell you something right there. This is possibly why he's come forward to say, I didn't know about the conservatorship. I just found out about it, that I was not adopted. And these people have not paid me my money. It took them years to pay me, and they still owe me money. And I haven't received the royalties from The Blind Side. And that's the last information I got, that he has not received the royalties. So I don't think it was a matter of him coming out because he's broke, he needs money. Well, if he's in good favor with these people, he needed money. You want me to believe he doesn't know how to open his mouth and ask? Hey, I'm a little light. I'm a little short. I had some bad investments. I need a loan, whatever. Why couldn't he just go to them if he was in good favor with them? So see, that makes no sense to say he was broke. That's why he's making all this up. He can't be making it up because, as I said, the conservatorship papers do exist. It's just a matter of, do you believe he knew that he signed them at 18? But I don't think he decided to bring all these allegations against these people about some papers and say, oh, I didn't know I wasn't adopted, because he's broke and he needs money from them. I think the proof has already been told. 16 years of paying somebody $138,000. You can use your own deduction. That doesn't make any logical sense. It doesn't take 16 years to pay somebody $138,000 when allegedly these people are millionaires. Let somebody tell that. So if you're a millionaire, why would it take you 16 years to pay somebody $138,000? It wouldn't. That's my commentary on Mr. Orr and the Tuohys. Let's get down to business, everybody. Michael Chauvin. Mercy, mercy me. Derek Chauvin back in prison after attack by fellow inmate. WCCO CBS Minnesota is the source of this information. Thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
20 times by a fellow inmate.
So the attack happened just more than a week ago.
Wait, 1 second, go back on that.
Here this morning, a former Minneapolis police officer is out of the hospital and back in prison after being stabbed more than 20 times by a fellow inmate.
So the attack happened just more than a week ago at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tucson, Arizona. And overnight, Chauvin's attorney gave us an update on his condition. Our Pauline Lee joining us live in the studio with what the attorney has to say. Pauline?
Well, for starters, his attorney confirms his condition has improved at least enough to go back to federal prison. That's where he'll receive follow-up care. Now, speaking for Chauvin's family, his attorney says they are very concerned about the facility's ability to protect him and whether any changes have been made to prevent any future attacks. According to court documents, Chauvin was stabbed 22 times by fellow inmate John Turzak while in the prison library back on November 24th. Turzak allegedly stabbed Chauvin with an improvised knife and told correctional officers that he would have killed Chauvin had they not responded so quickly. He told WCCO last Friday that he's been trying to get Chauvin moved to another facility to carry out the remainder of his 22-year sentence. That's for the murder of George Floyd, but has been unsuccessful so far.
And the fact that it happened and he got stabbed 22 times, supposedly under their protection, is just evidence that they weren't taking their obligations to protect him that seriously.
Now, after the stabbing, Turzak was moved to an adjacent federal penitentiary in Tucson. That's where he remained in custody as of Friday, and that's according to inmate records. Turzak is currently serving a 30-year sentence for crimes committed while a member of the Mexican Mafia prison gang. He was scheduled to complete that sentence 3 years from now in 2026, but he now faces charges, including attempted murder, which carries a maximum penalty of 20 years behind bars. That's if he's convicted.
All right. Pauline, thank you.
WCCO CBS Minnesota is the source. So Derek Chauvin was stabbed 22 times, allegedly. That's the number. I'm not going to say he wasn't stabbed. He was stabbed 20 plus times by a fellow inmate. There's debate on who this inmate is and what he's about. Former FBI informant turned rogue. Some people say he said it was about Black Lives Matter, but my understanding, he said it didn't have anything to do with any Black Lives Matter. You hear this lawyer speaking that evidence shows that they didn't seem serious about protecting Mr. Chauvin. The suspect, Mr. Turzak, was to be released in 2026. But now he's facing an attempted murder charge of about 20 years for stabbing Mr. Chauvin. There's also rumors via News Nation pertaining to this Mr. Turzak, his role while he was out on the street doing nefarious deeds, which got him locked up, his 30-year sentence for certain crimes. And that allegedly he fears for his safety. So this is why he did it. So you have two different rumors. One is it was pertaining to Black Lives Matter. And the other rumor is he is afraid that if he is released from prison, which he's supposed to be coming out, less than 3 years or so, or 3 years, that there's a hit out on him from the mafia, I guess the Mexican mafia. Okay? So I want you to think about that for just a second. First, let's start with the lawyer's commentary. Evidence shows that they were not serious about protecting Mr. Chauvin. Well, Mr. Attorney, you see, some could say, who cares? Yeah, he's a human life, but he took a life. He need a man for damn near 10 minutes with no regret, no remorse, still hooping and hollering that he followed the protocol by the Minnesota police manual. So basically he's saying he did what he was supposed to do. But yet the person is not resisting, not fighting back, not endangering the life of Mr. Chauvin and the other officers. It's all on film. Because if a person can stand there for 10 minutes and film, you need somebody to death and throw his body on a gurney like a wet rag. I don't think that's protecting the citizens, the great citizens of Minnesota, Minneapolis. Because trust me, when they threw him on that gurney, you could basically say he was dead weight. It was appalling, sir. So you crying and moaning on behalf of Mr. Chauvin that the prison system didn't seem serious about protecting him. Is it their job to protect him? You're talking about thousands of inmates in a medium security prison. And whether it's medium, low, or federal, or high risk, however you want to word it, they cannot watch these inmates per person. It's not humanly possible. It's just not possible. You are basically on your own in that damn prison or jail, unless you go to officials to say, hey, I need protection. I fear for my safety. Here are the reasons why. And or you reach out to your lawyer outside of the prison and get that information out to tell somebody that you fear for your safety. He was moved to this place as a medium security. So obviously he was able to be around other inmates. And obviously he felt safe enough to want to not be in isolation. So who are you blaming, sir? Because he did kill somebody. That's why he's there. And he obviously didn't feel like he needed to be isolated, or I'm assuming he would have told them that. And they obviously know why Mr. Chauvin was in their custody and what he had done. So at any point in being transferred to this medium security in Arizona, Mr. Chauvin could have consulted with the warden to say, I fear for my safety. I don't think it'd be good for me to be in general population, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to be isolated. And then they would make their decision. And due to the fact that who he is, and it was a high profile case, I don't see that it would have been a problem. So obviously he wanted to be around other inmates. And how convenient he gets stabbed in a library. Shut up, Angela. Reading, were you, Mr. Chauvin? Trying to get more information on how you can try to get yourself out the situation of kneeing a man to death, a black man, in front of eyewitnesses, filmed on a cell phone. No editing was needed. Amen. See, it's funny how people murder people and then they have 1,000 reasons and excuses for why what they did was right, when you know it was wrong. Because as we have heard 1,000 times over, the worst of man and woman has been apprehended by law officials, and they have been taken into custody unscathed. Serial killers, murderers, rapists, child molesters, fraudsters, schemers, scammers, thieves, and they make it to jail just fine. No scratches, no hair pulled out, no knee into the neck, no chokeholds, no tasing. Booked and sent to a cell. But Mr. George, he didn't have that fortunate fate of making it to the jail. Nine times out of 10, he acted no more erratic than the next person who realizes they're getting arrested, don't want to go to jail. The point is, by the time he slid out of the car, allegedly, let you all tell it, fell to the ground, y'all wrestling with him, you need him. 10 minutes. And you can see the man was not fighting. He's crying. He's begging for his mother. And as some of you love to say, who are so cruel and ignorant, how can he say he can't breathe and he's talking? Stop the bullshit. His airway was cut off. And it was, let's say, being cut off. And eventually, he didn't murmur anything else. How about that? Slow death. Live on camera. So, Mr. Chauvin, you have to stand a tone for what you did to Mr. Floyd. And God knows what else you've done. Because I think you've done some other heinous crimes and nefarious dealings while being a police officer on and off the clock. Because there were some things that weren't so nice about you that were out pertaining to you being a bouncer at one time. So I don't believe you have been a great citizen nor a cop before the death of George Floyd, the murder of Mr. Floyd. Now you go to a medium security prison and you get hacked up. And God showed you grace and favor and still let you live. So I don't know if you have any remorse, if you will repent, if you will ever say, hey, I guess I did do wrong. I need to own that. That's why that guy knifed me. And whatever reason the guy knifed him, I don't know. But I refuse to believe he knifed him because he thinks there's a hit out on his life. I'd rather just go underground and try to live. I'm not getting ready to catch another charge and I'm about to be released in 3 years. That's crazy to me. But that's the latest gossip pertaining to Mr. Turzak, that he stabbed Chauvin because he didn't want to be released from prison, because he thinks there's a hit out on his life by the mafia, Mexican mafia. So you're entitled to your perception of that. The information came from News Nation. Some guy talked to some insider from that jail who said, you know, he gave his rendition of why he thought what happened. I'm not about to repeat that garbage because in the end, I really don't care about Mr. Chauvin. And you know, the old saying is you're not supposed to wish death or harm on a person, but you do have to consider the obvious. Whether I wish ill on you or not, you cannot go out here and perfect nefarious deeds against mankind, womankind, children, and think something bad won't happen to you. That's common sense. I can pray for you. I can forgive you. I can wish you well, whether you're doing life, getting the death penalty, 10 years in prison, so on and so forth. But in the end, what is going to be is going to be. Somebody else doesn't have to favor you. Somebody else doesn't have to like you. Somebody else doesn't have to be remorseful and have and repent. There's somebody else who still has the devil inside of them, mad at the world, bitter, angry, schizophrenic, whatever. And they don't give a damn about you. And that's what I believe happened in this prison. I don't think it really matters why he was stabbed. Because people are going to bicker back and forth about another person's emotions. The man was stabbed, and he was stabbed a lot of damn times. Family wasn't notified. Mother heard it via the news, if I'm not mistaken. And naturally, that's her child. As I said before in my last commentary pertaining to Mr. Chauvin, she's in her feelings. She feels some type of way about not getting the information via the prison. And most people would say, well, that's cruel. I mean, whether she agreed with what Chauvin did or not, that's still her child. Yep, it is. That is still her child. But he also stole somebody's child. See, it's tit for tat. Every argument you can come up with pertaining to Mr. Chauvin, who he is, what he did to Mr. Floyd, it can be disputed. It's tit for tat. You stole a life, then somebody tried to steal your life. You don't think you did anything wrong. 9 times out of 10, this guy, he probably didn't think he did anything wrong either. It is what it is. But I will say this, as I said to some people in the chat last week, I'm sure Mr. Chauvin saw his whole life pass by while laying out there fighting them stab wounds. And I'm sure while being in a hospital, when he finally was able to come to, if he ever, wasn't incapacitated, he thought about what he did to Mr. Floyd and everybody else. Every little thing that ever happened to him in life, done and said, I'm sure it crossed his mind while lying in that hospital bed. Damn, how did I get here? Damn, this man tried to kill me. Why? I don't know. I ain't do nothing to him. Oh, yeah. George Floyd, that's why. And I'm sure he doesn't want to be in general population now. Will he repent? Will he repent? Will he have remorse for his crime against Mr. Floyd? I don't know. I hope for his sake he does, because there is a God, and God will be the one who makes the final decision pertaining to Mr. Chauvin's salvation. So he may not care about life right now. He may not care about killing George Floyd, but in the end, he will want to care. And that's the gist of the story, whether you believe in God or not. He's got to go somewhere. It ain't just going to be, laying in the dirt 6 feet down. That's the end story. From my understanding, it ain't the end story. Flesh is down there, but the soul leaves and it's got to go somewhere. Some may think it's a tragedy. Wow, this man went to prison. He got knifed in there and he's alive. Released now to another facility. Let's talk about that for a brief moment. Why should he go to another facility? Why should you petition for him to go to another facility, Mr. Attorney? Because as I just said, he chose his fate when he kneed Mr. Floyd for 10 minutes to death, killed that man live on camera like Memorex. And now because he's been knifed 20 plus times in a prison, he should now get sent to a whole nother prison, which he is in another facility in Arizona, from my understanding. Don't know how long he's going to be there. But he killed someone. So one could say, well, let's just start moving all the inmates around because they were stabbed, beat up. That's the chance you take once you are in general population. And eventually, if you did 23 hours down, you got to come outside for that, one little hour? I'm supposed to believe that a guard or guards escorting one person out and nobody's around at the time of escorting the person out for their 1 hour of sunshine. I don't know. But I'm just saying, who's to say you couldn't get knifed even being locked down 23 hours? Because that means they'd have to walk you out of your cell with nobody out, walking about. And where would they take you for your 1 hour out where nobody's around? That means it'd have to be an hour when there are when there are no inmates in the yard. This is his fate. He chose this. So he shouldn't get any special treatment to go to another facility, another prison. He just got to that one. And as I said, just imagine every time somebody has an altercation in prison, a fight, a stabbing, they live, well, let's move them over here. Let's move them over here. That costs money. Just like paying for their stay in prison costs the taxpayers. And you'd be moving a lot of prison inmates around every time they got in a fight or altercation with another inmate, a guard, whichsoever. And I'm sure space is limited. So you also have to count that in locking down a person inside of a federal or medium or high-risk facility, low-risk facility. They have to stay somewhere. That means they'd have to be in a cell by himself, herself. Do they have the space for that? Room for that? Because I've heard with certain crimes such as, pedophilia, rape, they possibly put them in their own little pod versus mixing them in with other inmates and other pods. And that would make sense. Put your rapists and sexual assaulters together, child molesters together, and then you put your murderers and all them in a separate unit. But all in all, due to the capacity of prisons, I don't think that's the possibility in every prison. There's going to be some people mixed in that have done low-grade crimes versus serial killers and rapists. And you know what I'm saying? Different type of crimes are, they're mixed in. Because every facility, I'm sure, is ran differently and the inmates are housed differently. Chauvin put himself there, and he's just going to have to reap. And that's just the gist of it. Because as I said, he is no more special than any other person out here who has murdered somebody, attempted to murder somebody, plotted to murder somebody. He is no different. Whether it became a high-profile case, made national news or not, he is no different. And that's what his family, this attorney, needs to understand. Chauvin he ain't hitting on shit. And he ain't no more special than any other inmate. And yes, there are people in there who have committed, petty crimes, but yet they got prison time. But the point is, they're in there too. And they're mixed in with some deviant ass folks. And some people view crime as crime, whether it's murder, theft, defrauding. They'll say, well, they did wrong. God looks at it the same. Wrong is wrong, whether you're a murderer or you're a thief. You're entitled to your opinion. Because some of us don't view people that way. Some of us view murderers a little differently than we would somebody stealing out of Walmart. You're entitled to your opinion. But the point is, all walks of life are in prison, and those people are all in jeopardy of being harmed. That's just the way it is. Whether they have committed petty crimes or they have committed felonious murder. And Mr. Chauvin put himself there. And frankly, I think he got what he deserved. But I know as a human being and a Christian, I shouldn't say that because I've sinned. But I know I ain't need nobody to the neck, and that's just how I feel about it. Because that was a crime that could have been avoided. There were other ways of handling Mr. Floyd that evening, and it didn't have to end that way. Because people are arrested every day. And they don't end up dead before getting to the jail. That's my commentary about Mr. Chauvin. Alissa Mccommon, my next subject matter. Thank you for joining me. Oh, mercy, mercy me. What a mess. What a mess. Please go to my community board for said updates. There's a commentary on there about the Gilgo Beach murders. It gives you a timeline of how everything came about and how Mr. Rex was arrested and the DNA of Alissa Ellerup on the victims. And it's by Fox 5 New York. It was uploaded 2 days ago. It's by the Tape Room podcast. It's a pretty good, recap of the crime and the allegations against Mr. Huerman. It's about a 23-minute video. I hear there's a lot of shenanigans with the Young Thug trial, a bunch of bickering and arguing between the attorneys. I watched a little bit of it briefly yesterday. It's just amazing how the crazy things come about with trials and the people arguing and bickering with one another. And I think this was possibly going to be like an OJ rendition. All that bickering and arguing between the attorneys, the judge snapping off on the attorneys. I think the people are going to grow very tired during this Young Thug trial, and they're just going to be beating their heads against the wall to get out of there. And they'll possibly let him go. Because when people get tired, it's like anything. You don't care. You stop caring. You don't worry about what's the truth and not the truth. Because I heard with the O.J. Simpson trial, I saw this in one of the documentaries. It might have been the movie that I think ESPN did years ago. They said those people were arguing like cats and dogs, jumping on tables, showing out, acting a damn fool. I was stunned when I watched that movie pertaining to the O.J. Simpson trial. So just imagine, with all this bickering and hollering and bickering back and forth in the court right now down in Georgia, people commenting, saying crazy stuff in the comment section about the judge is illiterate and the state attorney, she's the district attorney, she's unprofessional. Then the defense, he's capping off of what she was saying and acting and asking the judge personal questions about something he's already told her 3 times what he wanted to do about the witnesses. It's a hot mess. And like I said, I think these people are going to grow tired because, as they said, it took 11 months to pick a jury. I can't even see a trial going that long. OJ's trial was long, the trial itself. But imagine picking a jury. It taking 11 months to pick a jury. There is no way in hell it should take 11 months to pick a jury for anybody's trial. I don't care what they did. So imagine if it took 11 months. And they're already bickering now in court days ago about witnesses showing up and getting with them with the detectives and so on and so forth. Imagine what is yet to come and how these jury members are going to fare sitting in that jury box day for a day, not working, not getting their income, not spending time, doing the things they like to do, because I don't know if they're sequestered or staying in a hotel or not, but I think it's going to wear them down. I really do. But we will see. I'll post updates to my community board. I'm not following the Young Thug trial. I didn't want to get into all of that because basically I'm trying to venture away from talking about true crime in my commentary every day. I just prefer to talk about other circumstances that go on in life because it takes a lot to keep up with trials and commentary. And frankly, I'm just going to be truthful. I've become bored with talking about true crime every day and, the deviances of people against children. I'm overwhelmed with talking about it. It's just boring to me. Just every day, it's just too much to deal with. And keeping up with it, I'm just going to be truthful. I could perfect the time, but I don't really want to. And that's my personal opinion. I really don't want to. Because it's daunting. And there's just other things I'd rather do with my time. Besides talking about people murdering other people every day. It's just too much. This next commentary is News 5, NBC, pertaining to Miss Alissa Mccommon. She's a former Tennessee teacher. The bottom states, accused of sexually assaulting a boy child and other boy children. Very scary.
Mccommon, a former fourth grade teacher in Covington, was originally charged in September. She was arrested again after police say she started harassing that victim. Action News 5's Bria Bolden was in court today for Mccommon's preliminary hearing.
New information we learned today in court. The victim at the center of this case is now 15 years old. Prosecutors telling the judge he was actually 12 years old when the alleged rape happened. Former Charter Academy teacher Alissa Mccommon back in court Monday.
All right.
3 witnesses testified at her preliminary hearing. A Covington police detective, an asset protection representative from Walmart, and the child at the center of the case.
Certainly, we felt the evidence went beyond what was necessary, which is just to prove that it's more likely than not, or that there's probable cause that she did in fact commit these crimes. So that's what the judge found today. We're pleased with that and to move the case forward to the grand jury.
The public and media were not allowed inside while the 15-year-old testified, but new evidence presented in court by prosecutors allegedly shows Mccommon on camera after buying a phone from a Millington Walmart. Police say she violated her bond in September after she contacted the victim.
In that photograph, does she look like someone that's in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And can you identify the person that's in the courtroom today?
That's this lady over here.
The defense and prosecution are at odds about how old the victim was at the time of the alleged incident, saying it happened at the beginning of the 2021-2022 school year. Prosecutors claim the victim was 12 years old at the time of the alleged rape. Mccommon's defense attorney says otherwise.
The alleged incident date is like within a week of the child's birthday. So the reason that's important is the charge would change if the child was 13 versus 12. So obviously that's something that we're going to want to flesh out in the next court.
Mason says his client remains in good spirits and her mental evaluation came back clear. A grand jury will decide whether or not to indict Alissa Mccommon on those charges. If they do decide to indict, this case will move to circuit court. Reporting in Tipton County, Bria Bolden, Action News 5.
All right, Action News 5. Hold on.
Ruling to keep Mccommon's bond revoked. She is still in jail tonight. No word yet on when the grand.
Okay. News 5 is the source. Let's recap this information coming out of Covington, Tennessee. A former Mid-South teacher charged with raping one of her former students was in Tipton County General Sessions Court Monday. This was 1 week ago today. Alissa Mccommon former fourth grade teacher in Covington was originally charged in September, but she was arrested again after police say she began harassing the victim. New information was presented in Mccommon's preliminary hearing on Monday. Prosecutors say the victim is now 15 years old, but was 12 years old when the alleged incident happened. And as you hear this lawyer speaking here, I think it was close proximity to his 13th birthday. 3 witnesses testified at the hearing: a Covington police detective, an asset protection representative from Walmart, and the child at the center of the case. Certainly, we felt the evidence went beyond what was necessary, which is just to prove that it's more likely than not that we had probable cause that she did in fact commit these crimes. That's what the judge found today, said District Attorney General Mark Davison with Tennessee's 25th Judicial District. We're pleased with that decision and to move forward to the grand jury. The public and the media were not allowed inside while the 15-year-old testified, but new evidence presented in court by prosecutors allegedly shows Mccommon on camera after buying a phone from a Millington Walmart. So this would be the person in court from Walmart testifying as identification of Miss Mccommon being in the store purchasing that said phone, which was used to contact the victim. Police say she violated her bond in September after she contacted the victim. Walmart representative identified Mccommon in court from a picture of the surveillance video. The defense and prosecution are also at odds about how old the victim was at the time of the alleged incident, something that could make a difference in Mccommon's charges. Prosecutors say it happened at the beginning of the 21-22 school year, claiming the victim was 12 years old at the time of the alleged rape. Mccommon's defense attorney says otherwise. The alleged incident date is within a week of the child's birthday, said Mccommon's attorney, Jerry Mason. Okay, so this was a guy speaking on behalf of her, that it was within the week. What difference does it make? He's still legally 12, sir. Come on now. The reason that's important is that the charge would change if the child was 13 versus 12. So obviously that's something we're going to want to flesh out when we get to the next court. Mason says his client remains in good spirits and her mental evaluation came back clear. A grand jury will decide whether or not to indict Mccommon for her current charges. If the grand jury indicts, the case will move to circuit court. Judge Jennifer Scott chose to uphold the previous ruling to keep Mccommon's bond revoked. Mccommon remains in jail. There is no word on when the grand jury will meet. So I won't doubt they're probably meeting this month. Just a weird feeling I get. I won't doubt it. It'll probably be soon. And then these are good old country folks. My understanding, this is a really nice area that she's from, nice town. And these people probably value, doing the right thing, raising children. Good old, as I said, good old country folks, even if they're well-to-do. And they don't want somebody like that in the school system around their kids, male or female. Let's talk about Mrs. Mccommon. First, I want to know, will the husband continue to support her? Because I haven't heard anything from him, any commentary from him, family members, people who support Miss Mccommon. How do they feel about the charges? Do they believe the charges, the allegation? Is he going to stay with his wife? Will he file for divorce? Because a lot of times when you have these type of heinous crimes, somewhere down the line, the spouse will file for divorce. So will Mr. Mccommon file for divorce from his wife? Did she commit the crime of rape against a boy child? The fact that they're bickering back and forth of the age. Her lawyer says, well, he was about to turn 13 that week. My thing is, who gives a fuck? Come on now. 12, 13, 14, 10. You're only arguing if there are state laws about the age of 13 and under and sexual relations with a child, which there is a law pertaining to that. The crime is stiffer if you have partook in sexual misdeeds with a child under the age of 13 in the state of Tennessee. So this is why they're bickering. But those of us who have common sense and don't really give a damn about the age, it's neither here nor there. He's still a child. 13, 10, 11, 14. What's the difference? He's a child. He has no business, number one, engaging in any sexual behavior with a teacher. If he was 16, he doesn't have any business engaging. And we have a lot of people who feel like it's no big deal when it's a woman engaging in sexual deeds with a boy child, a teenager. But it is a big deal. It's a way big deal. 16, it's wrong. If he was 18, it's wrong. 12, it's wrong. 13, it's wrong. How far back of the number do I need to go? He's a minor boy child. You are there to implement structure, discipline, and school him. So you have no business looking at him, talking to him in any nefarious sexual manner. Period. Exclamation point. I wouldn't care if he had graduated from high school and they met up at the fucking town ice cream parlor and one thing led to another. It still would be wrong because he was your student. Come on now. You want to go out here and get a young guy to philander around with? Then go get you one that's above legal age. The fact that she's a teacher, married, has children, girl children. Wrong, 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 and wrong. She has not even thought about what this has done to the child, his disposition as a young person, his thought process, his family, parents, the other boys who alleged an abuse against by this lady, her own children, her own husband. So it's way deeper than just sexual violation of a child. There are other entities involved, such as other children, family members, the school district, just the whole conglomerate. It's ill because this lady knows better. I don't know what her mental background is. She's been cleared to continue to go to court. So that means she's fully functioning mentally. There's also allegations she brought forward to the child that she's pregnant. Haven't heard anything about that in this commentary. If she is actually pregnant, that's something I was looking for yesterday to bring you this update. Is she actually pregnant? Who are the other boy children? How old are they? How many boy children are bringing allegations against her? Will we hear of other boy children? How many school districts has she worked in? I believe she worked in another school district. Will we hear that she's molested other boy children in other school districts? Has she ever molested any neighbors' children, family members' children? See, it goes way deep. And what is the deal with these women as of late molesting boy children? Because it's baffling to me to go into Q or go into Google and you pull up the story pertaining to Miss Mccommon, and then all these other wicked stories will come up, as you always see when you're Googling true crime. They'll bring up all these other related stories, and it's baffling to see other women, white and black alike, Hispanic, sexually molesting children. And I don't care the age, it's wrong. Because one, they're underage. Two, you're in a mentorship capacity, guardianship capacity. You're watching over that child in that short 1 hour of them being in your classroom. What is your problem? And why do we have all these female offenders as of late messing with boy children? This is baffling to me. It's disturbing. It's disgusting. It is vile because you have no reason to be looking at a boy child. And you have to admit, looking at a 13-year-old, 12-year-old is surely not the same as looking at a damn 18-year-old. There are 18-year-olds that still look young. They look 14 years of age. So if I was to look at a boy child, that's what I'm looking at him as, a boy child. I don't care if he has nice features for a boy. My mind is telling me he's a boy. And that's the point. That's the point. And that is how you're supposed to view children. Just as that. Children. Whether you look at them and say, oh, she has pretty hair. She has pretty eyes. He has nice hair. He has pretty eyes. That is as far as it should go. Oh, he or she has nice features. But you're not supposed to be ogling their body parts. seeing them in a way you would see an adult male or female. And that is what is wrong with the world. We have a lot of sick people out here who fancy children, grown men who love young women. And then the young women can venture into young girls, or they like young girls. And you're looking at them, ogling them and making nasty comments about them, their body parts. And you're like, how are you talking about a child? Doesn't matter how her body looks, her facial expressions and how she appears, she's still a child. And that BS that people like to spew about how they act, that, oh, she don't act like a child, he don't act like a child. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care that the young girl acts promiscuous. The boy child acts promiscuous. He don't look like a boy. He looks like he's grown. She looks like she's grown. He's built like a man. She's built like a woman. So what? If your first glance at them says that's a child, then that's where you should leave it. You should not be ogling and fantasizing about having relations with the child. There's nothing you even have in common with the child. Mentally or sexually, physically, whether it be your child, a family member, a neighbor, a stranger's child. It's all the same. A child is a child. And it's very baffling to me to see all these women as of late being accused of raping boy children. What the hell is going on out here? I do not know. What's in the Kool-Aid and the Mountain Dew? The hell if I know. But something is off. Because I see children every day in life on TV, and I don't see nothing but that. A little girl, a little boy. And that is how all of us should view them. We do not need to be fancying children sexually. And I don't even understand how a grown woman can seek out boys on the internet, participate in playing video games with them via the internet, and then sneakily start sending them nude photos of herself, because that's what this wench is accused of doing. And then one thing leads to another. She needs her ass whipped. Yes, she does. She needs her ass whipped. She needs a good old-fashioned whooping with a switch, tree branch, or a big black belt. And these women usually don't get a lot of time in prison, will possibly take a plea, and the state needs to stop giving pleas, because you're basically saying, here's a slap on the wrist for assaulting a child. And our judicial system has been doing this as of late with many crimes, not just sexual assault, but murder, attempted murder, fraud. It's got to stop. No, we're not giving you no damn plea. We're not offering you a plea. We want your ass on a platter. But like they say, it's what the jury believes, state laws, and what the state can prove. This is horrendous, and it's sickening, because what we have learned with child molestation, rape, is that the children will begin to engage in that type of behavior with others, whether it be a child or an adult. And now their whole ideology and mind frame has changed because they have been touched by a grown-up. This is why nobody has a right to be touching the child sexually, be it another child or an adult. You will change his mindset. And what will be very horrific is if we find out he's been touching other children, engaging in sex with other children, other adults. So now you've tainted the mind of a boy child, ma'am. And you didn't think about that when you was out here touching him. And even the description of the sex is bad. He woke up to her doing nasty things to him, I guess with her mouth. Come on now. So then one would say, well, how the hell was he asleep? Because he was at her house. And I asked that question before in my commentary pertaining to Miss Mccommon. Where was her husband? Where were her children? Where was the family while this little boy is in her house and then he's asleep? What the hell is going on? How long was he there? How did he end up going to sleep? Where was he asleep? On the couch, on the floor, in her bed, children's bed, the den, family room? Where? You ask those questions because you're trying to put it together to make it make some sense, which you know it doesn't. And you hate to think about the logistics because you know it's a crime, you know it's wrong. And just the thought of a woman touching a boy in any way, kissing a boy, and God forbid, doing sexual deeds with him, it's hard to fathom. And this is even worse when they said he was asleep and he woke up to her, I guess, performing fellatio on her. It's like, what the hell are we saying? What did you just say? This is ridiculous. This is atrocious. Every ugly word you can come up with out of the Webster Dictionary. What the hell is wrong with you, Alissa? You have children. You have girl children. Do you want some grown ogre out here fantasizing and groping your girl children? You have 2 girl children. Those girls have to be able to go to school. They're under the age of 18 from appearance. They have to now walk around knowing their mommy likes messing with little boys. And I don't know if you've ever talked to your girl children about sex, sexual acts, but imagine them hearing what you did to that little boy. That's disturbing in itself. For your children to have to hear it. Your husband has to hear it. Now he's wondering what the hell is wrong with his wife. Why is my wife out here seeking the comfort from a boy child? Then there are allegations of other boy children. Will there be more allegations? Will she also be indicted by the grand jury down there in Covington, Tennessee? This is a deep, deep pot. We have entered into the abyss. Most definitely. This man has to feel really terrible. And he's got to walk around now as a man, a professional. People looking at him, damn, what the hell went on in that house? His wife likes little boys. I don't think people can really imagine what that would be like living in a small town. And even if you lived in a big city like New York or LA, you still have to work. You still have to have a job. You still have friends. You still, maybe involved in a community, going to church. Now you're worried about what people think, what they're thinking about you, what you knew, didn't know. If you aided or participated, because we do have people who get down like that, aid in nefarious deeds. And it's not to say anything negative about the husband, but just saying we have had cases of other people being involved in acts against children, nefarious acts against children. But this man still has to walk around, and he has to be questioning his manhood at this point. And then we have to ask that question as well. What did he know about his wife and the children, the allegations? Did he ever see anything, hear anything? Did the children, her own children, see or hear anything? Did he ever know that his wife had the propensity to molest boys? You have to ask that as well. Has there ever been any conversation between he and his wife? Did he ever see any child pornography on her phone, on her computer, iPad, watching videos? Because you do have men who vagrantly participate in watching child porn. Did this lady ever watch child porn? Because you have to ask yourself, how did it come to be she chose these children, solicited these children, met up with the children to perform these devious acts with the boy child and others? How many boy children are we talking about? How many allegations will be brought forward? Will she be found guilty in a court of law if indicted by a grand jury? How much time will she receive in prison? Will it even matter, this 12-year-old versus 13 years old? I don't think 12 members of a jury is going to give a damn. But that's the point. We have laws pertaining to rape of a child under the age of 13. The punishment is stiffer, allegedly. But we also know most women don't do the entire sentence. So whether he was 12 or not, let's say she's convicted, 9 times out of 10, she won't even do the entire sentence, whatever it may be. And what do you think her sentence should be if she is found guilty? And God forbid she's found guilty of other crimes against boys. She'll be in jail a while, be in prison a while, as she should be. This is deviance all day long. And I have had people on the panel give their commentary pertaining to a boy child being molested. I had a guest a year or so ago speaking about their boy child being allegedly assaulted by a adult woman. And I found it baffling that this female would condone that behavior of a woman touching her child, feeling like, oh, it's really no big deal. But, well, it is a big deal. And when I've listened to a person talk in general about crimes against children, they had issues with their own children, being assaulted by a man they had in their house, a husband. It didn't shock me that they would even think it was okay that a woman engaged in sexual behavior with their underage son, whether he was 16, 17 or not. The fact that she didn't think it was a big deal, and the fact that she also admitted during live streams that her children were assaulted by a husband, one would say there's something wrong with her. This is what I'm talking about right here. People condoning women sexually engaged with children. They don't think it's a big deal because it's a woman versus a boy child. It's not the same as a man versus a girl child, but it is the same. You may not hear it as readily, women raping boys, but it's still wrong. So whether he was 12, 13, 16, you are still an authoritative figure. You are a teacher. You're an adult. He is not. And no woman or man or child has any business sexually assaulting a child. That's the bottom damn line. And that's my opinion. And anybody that condones either sex, molesting children, raping children, there's something wrong with your ass and you need to be locked up. That's my commentary pertaining to Alissa Mccommon. She is still in jail. Her bond is still revoked. The little boy testified in court last Monday down in Covington, Tennessee, of the allegations against Ms. Mccommon. A representative from Walmart testified that she is the lady on the video purchasing that cell phone used to contact the victim, and also a detective testified in court. We will wait to see if this charge will be bound over to the grand jury. They don't have any information on when the grand jury meets, but when I get an update, I will bring you that said information. Prayers to the young boy and his family. Prayers to the other boys who were accosted by Ms. Mccommon. When I get more information about the other allegations or any other updates pertaining to the storyline, I will bring you an update. I would like to later talk about this type of crime and also just the blatant disrespect of rearing children in today's society, pertaining to parents, guardians, adoptive parents, raising children, rearing children, and physically abusing them and murdering them. We have a lot of cases here in the United States of people violating children, such as this commentary here, but also killing the children. What is the issue? How did it come to be that, such as this, you have someone deciding to violate a child knowing that it's wrong, no way in your right mind you say it's right, versus also physically abusing, verbally abusing a child and then murdering a child? How does it come to that point that you have chosen in your right state of mind that it is okay to violate a child mentally, physically, sexually, and then murder him or her? I've not talked about Summer Wells in a while. I haven't talked about Cal City in the past couple months with the verdicts of the guilty verdicts of Jacqueline and Giselle West. But it's something sinister in the air pertaining to people rearing children. And I would like to do a discussion about that. I have not heard any new information pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. I do not listen to any shenanigans pertaining to the parents and what they've been in and out of. Every blue moon, I might, see something in the queue pertaining to the parents, but I haven't engaged and gone and looked and read anything, because usually the people who discussed the Wells case, just like with the West case, they're just as kooky and jacked up as the parents. And that's something I don't think a lot of people really realize when it comes to talking about true crime and talking about true crime pertaining to children. A lot of the people who are watching these cases, commenting on these cases in videos and Facebook pages and groups, and the people doing the YouTube videos, they're just as wicked. And it seems like it takes a while for some of you all to realize that you are following the devil, devils, plural, that they are just as wicked and sick as the people in the storyline. I do not believe Miss Wells is alive, Miss Summer Wells. I don't believe the child is alive. I do believe her parents harmed her or have knowledge of what happened to her. Nefarious dealings. And they are free and walking around. I do not believe they have access or custody of their other boy children. And the fact that we haven't heard anything new about them having custody rights of their children should tell you everything you need to know about Summer Wells. If they don't have custody of their children now, years later, that should tell you something about what happened to her and why she ain't around, hasn't been found, and why do they not have custody of their boy children? Because of whatever they found in investigating this case. It doesn't take a year to get custody of your children back. I would think it shouldn't take no more than 6 months or less, and I'm going to bet on the less part, to get your children back, depending on the allegations against you and what is required of you from the state. So if the state is asking you to seek mental counseling, drug rehab, drug classes, alcohol classes, go to school or get a trade, get a job, random drug testing, mandated drug testing, then you should do it if you want your damn kids. There's no reason for anybody to not cooperate with what they are asking of you if you really want your kids back. And I think that's the common denominator with the allegations against these parents who lose their children to the state and those accused of also murdering their children and children not ever being found, whatsoever. It's a common denominator. They didn't have any business with the children. And you're seeing that. Whether it's a biological parent, foster parent, adoptive parent, these people are not mentally equipped to be raising children. So the sad gist of the story is that some of these kids are removed from their parents or guardians, taken in by somebody else, whomever it is, to only be accosted worse than where they came from. And then, God forbid, end up missing and or dead. All of the above. Because once again, as I said, a lot of these people have no business rearing children. So there is no guarantee that if a child is removed from his family, that he's going to go to a better situation, because you don't know people. That's the assumption. Oh, he's better off now. He's out of that place. She's in a better place now. No, you mean you hope she's in a better place. Because we're seeing this often of children being removed from their parents to only go into foster care or move in with a family friend, relative, to be further abused and, God forbid, murdered. And this has got to stop. But then the gist of it is, what is the remedy? Because most people aren't going to just come out and tell you they don't want a child. They don't want that child. They're mentally defunct. Who's going to tell you that? Nobody. I don't like this kid. I don't want this kid. I took this kid in to save face. I realized I don't want the kid. I don't want to raise the kid. I just did it so people will have respect for me or idolize me or think I'm a good person, noble person. Whatever the reasons are. Or it ain't working out, we ain't getting along. A lot of people just don't want to admit just that it ain't working. So they further abuse the children. And the next thing you know, the children are getting wounds, running away, locked in closets, rooms, dungeons, whatever. Emaciated, starved, beat, sexual abuse, physically, mental, verbal, and then the worst, they're dead. Call 911, acting like they don't know what happened to the kid, or claim that they're missing. We're in a wicked world. And it is time for people to realize that if they feel they do not have the capacity to rear a child, then don't do it. We have got to start respecting people for realizing they don't have the capacity to rear a child, because some people just don't have it in them. And it's not right to judge a person, even if they gave their child up for adoption or placed them in foster care, because it takes a noble person to decide, I can't do this for whatever reason. And everybody's situation is not the same. Because a lot of people think because they kept their kid that they're better than somebody that placed a child up for adoption. No, you're not. Because a lot of you have raised your children allegedly, but other people were raising your children. Leaving them with all types of people, Tom, Dick, and Harry, mamas and grandmamas and aunties, not picking your kid up to damn dark 30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So your child hasn't seen you since morning. And then they're not seeing you till 10 o'clock at night. You throw them a little bit of food and then put them to bed and start the cycle all over the next day. And they do this for years. That's not child rearing. And this goes on a lot in our communities. And I see it a lot in the Black community. The people feel like they've done right by their kid because they kept their kid. But you're really not raising your kid if you don't see your kid. So you're not any different than somebody who said, well, I can't raise my kid for whatever reason, whether it's mental, legal troubles, whatever, and they place their child up for adoption or let their relative raise their kid. You're no better. You're not special if you really don't spend any time with your child. You're just throwing them off on somebody while you run the street, hang over here, you're working 2-3 jobs. In the end, your child needs their parent. And lots of people have to have help, have to work more than one job to survive. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it is what it is, but your children still need you. And if you are never around, I think it will cause problems somewhere down the road, because a child will feel alienated. They will feel alone, even though they know, yes, my mother has to work, my father has to work, my grandmother has to work. But you've got to make time for your children, because children are fragile and they become easily agitated, offended, and they harbor that and they hold on to that. That's why many of us act the way we act now. It's because of how we were treated as children. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. My commentary this afternoon is pertaining to Alissa Mccommon. She has been charged with rape of a former student down in Covington, Tennessee. She is currently in jail with no bond. And we will wait to see if the charge will be bound over to the grand jury. The second part of this live stream is pertaining to Derek Chauvin. He was stabbed 20 plus times in an Arizona prison. He has been moved to another facility in Arizona, and his attorney wants him moved, I guess, to another prison for his safety. He feels as if the prison system did not protect him due to the evidence. But as I said before, the man committed a crime. He murdered another man on live camera. So, tit for tat. The jail system cannot watch everybody, especially in a prison where you have at least 3,000 inmates. It's highly impossible. And you reap what you sow in life. And perhaps this is Mr. Chauvin's karma. Retribution. Justice came home. You're entitled to your opinion. 2 updates I brought you is pertaining to Mr. Michael Orr and the Tuohys. and also Asa Ellerup, the wife of Gilgo Beach suspect Rex Heuermann. Please go back to the beginning of this live to get the updates pertaining to Mr. Michael Orr and the monies allegedly paid to him by the Tuohys and the conservatorship. They have now decided to not talk about him on their website in public speaking, which I think is a very great idea. And also legal wranglings are still ongoing between the Tuohys and Mr. Orr. And Asa Ellerup DNA was found on burlap on 3 of the victims, and they were hairs belonging to Asa Ellerup, whatever you want to call her. And he's also being investigated for a 4th victim, Gilgo Beach, Mr. Rex Heuermann. Is she involved? What was her role? How is it that her hair is found on 3 or more victims? And the fact that it's 3 is very baffling to me. DNA was retrieved from a cheek swab. And this is how the ball got rolling into linking Mr. Rex Heuermann as a suspect. Identification, phone calls, phone pings from burner phones, ID of a truck, late model Chevy Avalanche, so on and so forth. Please check my community board for the said updates. Also, one pertaining to the recap of the Rex Heuermann Gilgo Beach storyline. Please take the polls on my community page. I will bring you an update pertaining to these stories as I get the information. I might be a little late in bringing some of the information, especially with Miss Alissa Mccommon, because I didn't even know that there had even been a court hearing last week. I just saw it yesterday. But thank you all so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week. Happy holidays to everybody. Please be safe. Beware of your surroundings, your posting pertaining to your comings and goings and things you're ordering and getting for Christmas. As I said before, do not leave parcels unattended out on your porch. Have somebody to pick up those items. Do not leave things out on the lawn, garbage cans to show what you have purchased. Make sure you keep all your doors and windows locked in your cars and your home. Thank you for joining me. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you, Dan 7P and Lady Lolo, for joining me, and those who are also listening in the background. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful week. Check my community page for updates and movie of the week. You have been listening to The Vault XL.